The rain had just started to fall, light droplets kissing the pavement of a quiet neighborhood street. A dull gray evening, with the kind of silence that felt almost too heavy, broken only by the distant rumble of thunder and the occasional splash of car tires gliding through shallow puddles. But beneath an old, rusted sedan parked near the curb, there was a different kind of silence, the kind soaked in fear. Curled into a trembling ball, a tiny dog barely older than a few months pressed herself into the shadows, trying not to breathe too loud, too fast. Her fur, once white, was matted with grease and grime. Her ribs poked through her sides like fragile sticks wrapped in skin. Her eyes were wide, wild, and soaked with rain and terror. No one had noticed her. Not yet. For days, she'd survived on scraps tossed from nearby trash bins. A half-eaten slice of bread here, a moldy crust of pizza there. Every sound of footsteps made her heart thud. Every passing car a threat she couldn't understand. All she knew was to hide, to stay still, to not be seen. But this day would be different. Across the street, a woman named Eliza stepped out of her car, a paper grocery bag in one hand and a folded umbrella in the other. She wasn't in a rush, not really. She had just come back from visiting her mother in the hospital. Her mind was a storm of worry and exhaustion. Yet, for some reason, as she stepped onto the sidewalk, her eyes drifted toward the sedan. A flicker of movement, a glint of something white under the shadow. She paused, squinted, took a step closer. What is that? She crouched slightly, peering beneath the car. Her breath caught. There those eyes. Wide, terrified. Eliza's heart twisted. Oh my God! The dog didn't move, not even an inch. She was too scared, too used to being invisible. Eliza slowly set her groceries down and knelt, keeping her voice low, soothing. Hey there, it's okay. I'm not going to hurt you. The pup shivered, pressing further into the cold metal undercarriage. Eliza reached into her coat pocket and pulled out half of a granola bar. She broke a piece and gently laid it near the edge of the car, just within reach. Rain trickled down her face as she waited. A full minute passed. 2. And then a hesitant sniff. The dog edged forward an inch. Then another. Her paws were silent against the wet ground, and her eyes never left Eliza's. The piece of granola disappeared into her mouth, and she backed away just as quickly. Eliza smiled softly. Good girl. You're okay. For the next 10 minutes, Eliza stayed there, in the rain, coaxing the dog gently. She never tried to grab her, just offered tiny pieces of food and a quiet voice. Eventually, the dog crept out completely, still crouched low. Eliza extended her hand, palm up. I won't hurt you. I promise. The dog stared. And then, slowly, achingly, she placed one paw forward, then another, until her head was resting lightly in Eliza's open hand. A tear slipped down Eliza's cheek. You poor baby. How long have you been out here? It wasn't just empathy, it was something deeper. Something in that look, in those trembling eyes, reminded Eliza of herself. Of being lost, scared, unsure of what came next. She gently scooped the small body into her arms. The dog tensed at first, but then sagged. Not out of trust, not yet, but out of exhaustion. She had no strength left to fight. Eliza wrapped her coat around her, shielding her from the rain, and whispered, Let's get you warm, sweetheart. As she crossed the street to her house, she didn't see the curtain twitch from the window across the way. A neighbor who'd seen the dog too, but turned away, who told themselves, It's not my problem. Someone else will help. That someone else was Eliza. Inside, the warmth of the house wrapped around them both. Eliza gently placed the dog on a soft towel, turned up the heater, and brought out a bowl of warm chicken broth. The dog sniffed it, hesitant again. But hunger won. And while she ate, Eliza sat nearby, watching, thinking, wondering who had left her. How such a fragile creature ended up so alone. But most of all, what she could do to make sure this little life never felt that way again. She picked up her phone and made a call. Hi, is the vet still open? I found a dog. She needs help tonight. The screen fades to black. A beat of silence. Then the faint sound of a small sigh. The first peaceful breath the pup had taken in days. To be continued. The clinic was quiet when Eliza arrived, cradling the soaked and shivering pup wrapped in her coat. The receptionist took one look and immediately waved them in without a word. A young vet named Dr. Harris met them in the examination room. She's freezing, Eliza said, voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Harris nodded, lifting the dog gently onto the exam table. "Let's take a look, sweetheart." The pup didn't resist, but she didn't respond either. Her tiny body was limp, her eyes blank with exhaustion. Harris worked quickly, checking vitals, cleaning her paws, scanning for a microchip. Nothing. No ID. No history. Just a ghost of a dog, lost in a world that had forgotten her. "She's malnourished. Dehydrated. Maybe 4 months old." Dr. Harris looked up. "You said you found her under a car?" Eliza nodded. "She wouldn't come out. Not until I gave her food." The vet sighed and gently wrapped the dog in a warm towel. "She's lucky you found her. If she'd stayed out another night in this weather." He didn't finish. He didn't have to. Eliza sat in the chair beside the table, watching the little dog start to close her eyes. The heat lamp above cast a gentle glow over her matted fur, now slightly cleaner. Despite everything, her breathing had softened. Slowed. For the first time in who knows how long, she was safe. Dr. Harris stepped out to prepare fluids and vitamins. In the stillness, Eliza spoke softly, almost as if talking to herself. "You're so small. So fragile. What happened to you, little one?" The dog stirred at the sound of her voice. A twitch of an ear. A tiny shift. And that was the moment Eliza knew. She couldn't just walk away after tonight. When the vet returned, he handed her a small list. "Here's what she'll need. Antibiotics, food, rest. I'll give her some fluids now, and you can take her home tonight if you want. But she'll need regular care for the next few weeks." Eliza didn't hesitate. "I'll do it. Whatever she needs." The vet smiled, but it wasn't a cheerful one. It was the kind that carried 100 similar stories. Not everyone would. "Thank you." As they left the clinic, the rain had stopped. The clouds still loomed above, but the world felt quieter, as if holding its breath. Eliza settled the pup into a blanket-lined basket on the passenger seat. "I'll call you Hope," she whispered, "because that's what you gave me tonight." The drive home was silent, but peaceful. Each red light felt like a moment to glance over, to make sure she was still breathing, still with her. Back home, Eliza cleaned a space near the heater and laid out another blanket, along with water and soft food. Hope sniffed at it but barely touched it. Too tired. Eliza placed her gently on the blanket and sat nearby with her knees drawn up to her chest, just watching. Midnight came and went. Eliza didn't sleep. She just stayed, keeping vigil, her eyes occasionally drifting from the sleeping pup to the quiet shadows outside her window. Morning brought a hesitant bark, just one. Faint, scratchy, but there. Eliza turned to see Hope sitting up, looking around with curious, unsure eyes. "Hey there." Eliza smiled, rising slowly to kneel beside her. "That's a good sound. You've got some fight in you." Hope let her hand come close this time. No flinch. She even leaned into the touch. The next few days blurred together. Gentle baths, short walks in the yard, spoon-feeding when she refused the bowl. Bit by bit, the fear in Hope's eyes faded. Her tail, once permanently tucked between her legs, started to twitch. Not quite a wag, but almost. Eliza found herself smiling more. Laughing sometimes. It felt strange, unfamiliar but good. Like waking up from a long, gray sleep. Neighbors started to notice. "That the little stray from the street?" One asked as Eliza walked Hope in the park. "Yes," she replied simply. "She's lucky you found her." Eliza looked down at the pup, who was sniffing a flower with tentative joy. "No, I'm the lucky one." By the end of the first week, Hope had begun to follow Eliza from room to room. Always a few steps behind, always watching. But the eyes that once trembled with fear now shimmered with quiet trust. Late one evening, as Eliza sat on the couch with a book, Hope leapt up beside her for the first time, curled into a tight ball against her side. No prompting, no fear. And for the first time in a long time, Eliza let herself cry. Not from sadness, not even from relief, but from the weight of realizing that two broken hearts, hers and Hope's, had somehow begun to heal together. The screen fades as Eliza rests her head on the back of the couch, one hand gently stroking Hope's soft fur. Outside, a breeze rustles the leaves. But inside, for now, there is only peace. To be continued. 2 months later, the sun was shining over a completely different world. Hope no longer looked like the ghost of a dog who had once cowered under a car. Her fur had grown back soft and full, a snowy white again. Her ribs were no longer visible, now replaced with healthy weight and energy. Her eyes, once hollow with fear, sparkled every time Eliza came home. And Eliza, she was different too. There was a lightness in her step, a quiet joy that hadn't been there before. She didn't talk much about the night she found Hope, but it lived in her heart. A turning point. A rebirth. They walked together every morning now. Not hurried. Just two survivors greeting the day. At the park, Hope ran with other dogs, her tail high in the air, barking in playful bursts. No one could guess she had once been afraid to even lift her head. People asked questions sometimes, about where she came from, how they met. Eliza always smiled and said the same thing. She found me when I needed her most. But healing wasn't a straight line. One afternoon, thunder rolled in suddenly. The skies darkened, and rain began to fall. Eliza rushed to bring Hope inside, but the dog had already bolted. Not out of fear. Not quite, but instinct. Deep buried memories. Eliza found her minutes later, crouched low behind the sofa, trembling. She knelt beside her and whispered, "It's okay. You're not there anymore. I'm here." And slowly, Hope came back. A nudge of her nose. A lick of Eliza's hand. Proof that fear could fade, even if it never fully vanished. Later that week, Eliza sat down and wrote their story. She posted it online. Not for praise, but for connection. She titled it, Asterisk she hid under a car, until someone finally noticed her. Asterisk she included photos. The rain-soaked pup that first night, the visit to the vet, the first time Hope climbed onto the couch. The response was overwhelming. Messages poured in. People sharing their own rescue stories. Their own hopes. Donations came for the clinic that treated her. Offers of help. Gratitude. And one message stood out, from a teenager who wrote, "I was going to give up, but then I watched your video, and I decided to hold on. Thank you." Eliza read it twice, then turned to where Hope lay snoring softly at her feet. "You saved more lives than you know, girl." Hope stirred and wagged her tail without opening her eyes. Spring turned into summer. The flowers Eliza had once let wilt now bloomed again, their colors bright against the garden fence. Every morning, Hope sat at the window, waiting for the sound of Eliza's keys. And Eliza knew, no matter what came next, she would never be alone again. Not because she had rescued a dog, but because that dog had rescued her too. In the smallest moment, under the darkest sky, two broken souls found each other and decided together to heal. Fade out. The end.